Let me just get that on. I wasn't on the right page, so let's start the intro.
We have found our way. It's a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are, and like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail of Gaia, also known as Sharitaya. And this is Free Range, where we graze on wild ideas and have wonderful guests. And as you know, we're having Jenny Lee on today, and we are going to talk about the guardians of the dragon lines. Now, beneath our feet and above our skies, ancient currents still flow. Lines of living light that once connected temples to stars, hearts to cosmos. Some call them ley lines, especially here in the West, whereas in China, they call them dragon lines. And they're basically veins of Gaia where power and consciousness move as one through the planet. So tonight we follow those paths, the forgotten maps, the breathing earth. Earth has chi too. And the dragons that guard these lines, and they don't breathe fire, they breathe plasma, light plasma. So we're going to talk about that, and you're free to ask any questions along the way, and Jenny will be more than happy to answer them, and I will bring Jenny back on right now. Welcome, Jenny.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I feel a little discombobbled tonight for some reason, but I'm good otherwise. So anyway, where do you want to start?
We have some. Well, I mean, and just I've been on these ley lines. And when it comes down, I'm going to talk about the serpent mounds that was close to my farm, and you can feel the frequency from that side of things. And then, so when you're on these, you can feel the rhythm through the ground, and not only that, I would say different energy is attracted to these. They have the history of the giants being around them, natives being around these serpent mounds, ley lines, because it is energy, and each culture has a different way that they feel that they're tapping into these ley lines. So there's several in Minnesota. There's a lot in North Dakota. There's some in South Dakota. I mean, they're spread out through the world,
Yes.
and when I started getting a download on these, and then if you actually go to Google and you look at all the ley lines that are around the world, it's like a whole netting process. But they showed me with all these ley lines, they're all connected to the pyramids too.
Yes.
So they're showing all the original pyramids. So it all comes together in this process. So, and I always knew that when we get to this point, it brings in the activation mode with everything that's going on with Earth now. So whether it's water, whether it's on land, desert, wherever it is, the rainforest, all that stuff. So those pyramids that are hidden, those temples that are hidden, the ley lines that are in an activation mode. So, and as you said, they call them the dragon lines in Asia area. And, which is understand their tales. They have a lot of tales of dragons in their stories. And even on their wood carvings, a lot of their wood carvings and I've had one that had a chest that had the story of the dragon. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of tales with that. So it's interesting how the truth is blended in with the lies, and try to confuse you on everything.
Oh, yeah.
So
There's a lot of that.
right. So when I started doing the research and I found information, and then it led up to that there's 2 of those lines actually outside of Fargo. And I was just like, what? You gotta be kidding me. So I actually drove out to this area, because that's what I had to do with the first one, the Serpent Mound. But you could feel the energy, you can feel the frequency. And then always in these areas, they have, a lot of activity with other things that end up coming in that area. Animals act different from it too. So it's interesting because I always felt, and we go back kind of the Tartarian times and Atlantis times and what they were using for activity, what they were actually using for power, how everything really worked at that time. And that's the whole thing, is this information is coming back online. And I mean, if you look at the ley lines, they just kind of blow that off and they don't want anybody to focus on what it does. If you do the history on the ley lines, and then you'll really be like, this is intriguing. What did they use this power for? What are they hiding? What are they suppressing about it? And that's the whole thing about this whole situation. So,
well, it's my understanding too, where certain ley lines cross, there's what they call nodes, and those nodes are like what you're saying tend to be even higher energy areas. Yes. And right. I had an experience in Sedona with that, because that's a very high energy noded area. And I also a little bit here in Arkansas, because I got a picture of the ley lines in this area, because I asked about it, because I was actually involved in reactivating, I should say, some of the ley lines in Sedona. But in here at Lake Washita, and there's crystals, and all of them are starting to reawaken and be activated as well. So anyway, it's kind of exciting what's going on. Things are coming online all over the place.
It is. And when I first got into this area that had, they discovered a lot of giant bones. And what was really weird, in the ground, I kept seeing these black stones, were always surfacing on the top, and I was just like, and I had to have them looked at, examined, and all that stuff. And I even had a guy, he's just like, where'd you get these? And I'm like, I found them on a Serpent Mound. And he goes, you should bring more of these in, because they're worth a lot of money. And I'm just like, and they have healing modalities in it. And I was like, So I was learning about that area and seeing the history, how it involved everything. So they talked about the giants, and what they did with the giants, and I did a remote viewing on it, is they had their slaves that were native that they had, and they tied them to a rope, those old type of ropes they had, tethered them down from grave to grave, because they thought that they were going to be able to take their slave with them in the next world, and that was the weird thing about that. So in these graves that are in in Minnesota, the government wanted to shut it down because they didn't want them to move all these bones and see what was going on there. But there were graves after graves, Serpent Mound on top of it. And they have a lot of activity that happens in this area. So the whole thing about this is, we're talking just this area. So there's a lot of stories with the other areas. And I have a book on the giants and all these areas that they have been activated in.
I got a question for you, Jenny. What, because I haven't found this out yet. What's the difference between the giants and the titans? Are the titans a lot bigger than the giants, or are they?
It's just like, the Tartarians is the one that I'm not really like interested in, because there are different, the Tartarian giants that, and this is the thing about it. And you go back to the biblical time on things, is they protected the villages. You know what I'm saying? And what society?
The giants were good. Yeah.
Yes. What societies got out there? giants eat humans.
They eat us, yeah.
I know.
Just like the dragons.
Right.
Oh, they're fire-breathing dragons, and
I mean,
no, they're
this
not.
scale that you hear, it's just insane. But if you go back to the history, and then you can go back to the Tartarians, because I think that's an amazing area to start in, in that, and developing the giants and stuff like that. And I have an old book that you can't even find on the giants now, and it goes from state to state, all the evidence that they found and all this stuff. Yeah, and I have the book, and but it's amazing the information that's just thrown under the carpet, not talked about,
Hidden.
Yes, hidden. And the government hid this a lot. So, and I, they showed me some in Antarctica, and then they showed me some in Iran. Those were different. They all look different, just like us. We all look different. And I did a drawing. I don't, I'd have to, Jeep has it. I'd have to show you next time. But that one, I did the drawing of the giant that was in Iran underneath the ground. And when I did the drawing, I lined out the drawing, and then I actually, after I got done, I went on Google and I found the actual face that I did the drawing of. It was weird. After I did it, it was strange. So,
synchronicities, kind of.
Yeah, there is. So it's interesting, and I'm just, I'm stuck on the ley lines. I'm stuck on the serpent mounds, all that stuff, because I know that is a whole process of the activation of our world in energy. I'm like, how did those times of the higher technology that was advanced, and they tapped into something. But Atlantis, they showed me towers that went up high in the sky. They were from the ocean all the way up to the sky. And I've got this verified from another remote viewer of this information and what they used with those towers. So it's going to be interesting in the future process that you see how they're going to change technology, and how we're going to kind of go back on some things that they had advanced technology on for a long time. And this is the thing with the Tartarians. If you look at all the stuff they had of the futuristic technology, it's insane. And we're like, how did this?
Yeah, this was a Back to the Future thing. I mean, they had free energy. If you look at some of their buildings, the ornate nature of it, there's no way.
No.
It's just amazing. But they covered it all up. They buried whatever they could. As a matter of fact, there's another thing in Sedona in the Grand Canyon, and that they blocked off so nobody can see. And I have something on that too. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Basically, dragons and titans gave their life so humanity would survive when they did one of these huge resets. And we were due for one. And if there hadn't been a plan in place, we'd be in big trouble right now.
You see these giants, they're basically, they're talking about how the blood is turned to some of these crystals, you know what I'm saying? And they're talking about this all the time. And, and I'm one that I would love to dig in the ground and look at this myself and see how, you see all this, the trees, again, the giant trees that they had that they severed down, and they cut them down too. So, I mean, everything is in documentation, and that's the whole thing, is people need to go and do the research and pay attention to what they're trying to put out there, but what really happened. And you have to go, it's not something you're going to have to Google. You're going to have to go read books, go to the library, do the research, find the original maps and everything on this stuff, because Google's not going to show any of that stuff.
Someone in the comments, and I'd like you to address it, Jenny, is saying that Tartaria are the Draco and still they're underground.
No.
Thank you.
No. They are not.
Okay. See, now, let me just mention this on what it says here on this thing that I have up here. The Grand Canyon was a Titan dragon fortress where colossal beings emerged into stone to guard what lies beneath. And there are areas in the Grand Canyon. There's an area in particular that you can't even go near it.
And I believe there's a lot of stuff going on there, and it has been for a while, and all these national parks, and it's all about control.
Exactly. And one of the things that they think is in there, the canyon are I can't say that, you know what I mean, pyramid structures and crystalline libraries that hold Earth's human origin memory and DNA flame templates. When the crown vault fully opens, it will release memory waves, a reteaching of humanity's true origins and a reconnection to our divine templates. Well, small wonder they don't want us in there. They don't want that
But
to happen.
also, under the Holy Land, they have those too. They have those scrolls. They have every template of our DNA. It's all been hidden underground. And that's why it's going to be interesting when we reveal everything that comes to the surface, and we actually get to read everything and see everything, the original forms, the original scrolls, the original information, instead of the stuff they just printed up and pushed out there into the program. And that's the thing about me. I mean, I'm just addicted to digging in the ground and getting the history. And
you should have been an archaeologist.
Yeah, that is, and that's the way they are. Archaeologists, they just don't want to quit. They want to keep going until they find the truth. That's the whole thing about it. It's an addiction of knowing the truth.
That's a good
the whole
thing.
thing about this, and I'm talking, how the energy on Earth is changing and how the frequency is changing, how it's affecting us. And, we're trying to put this together, and you look on Google, you're not going to see this stuff because this stuff is hidden so much but I mean, if you sat and listened to about information about the Tartarians, it's so addicting because it unfolds history, and you're trying to relay it in our times, and it's not matching up. And that's the whole thing. You have to really sit outside the box, would match the facts with this process. But you can't, like I said, I mean, everybody's got to get away from Google. You're not going to find this information on Google.
No.
You're not going to be truthful on Google. And that's the whole thing. As Generation X, we had to go to the library and read the books, you know what I'm saying, and actually do the research. And so the whole thing is, and I noticed even on angelic books, on demonic books, on, demonology, stuff like that, you get better information in the UK than you do in the United States because they suppress books and information. I had to dig in, and that's the whole thing. You're going to have to sit down and buckle down to relay all the information down.
I think we have a lot of NPCs in this country.
Yeah. So what are the dragon ley lines? They are not it's not like a magical path or whatever. Like, they are living conscience lines within the earth. The dragons represent the movement, the memory, the protection, the plasma, light current.
See, they actually breathe plasma into the lines, the way I understand it. And people think they breathe fire. No, it's plasma. It's living light. And it's the circulatory system, if you will, of the earth.
Yeah. So these lines are braided, Creator braided this form into the connection of these ancestor sites. That's the whole thing. And that's what we're talking about. The temples, the ley lines, all this stuff is, as our world was developed, it was developed a certain way at a certain time for a reason. So these intersections of dragon lines are where Creator's breath is, that breathe this into life, just like light was breathed in here, the sun was, the ocean, everything else. That's the whole thing about this. So it's very interesting how things unfold. So these are places where time folds, spirit becomes visual. They are not a metaphor. They are a memory line of divine weaving light into the body of earth.
Yeah, it's kind of like another way of looking at it, and I think this is they comes from China. It's like Earth's chi or prana, or how that's what they talk about. Us, but the Earth has the same thing because it's a living being.
Right. And that's what's interesting about all of this. I mean, I mean, if you look at Earth and, people think, well, it's just, it's ground, it's ocean, everything is energy. Everything is frequency. Everything in our world functions on energy, and even our bodies. Everything about us is energy. You're not alive if there's not energy flowing through you on that process. So,
Exactly. I guess another way that some have said it was that dragons are like blood cells of the cosmic body. And plasma rivers and oceans and bloodstream. It's kind of like, as I was saying earlier, the circulatory system of the planet. And the dragons are the keepers of those lines. But they have been, and another thing is apparently wherever there's the nodes where there's extra energy, what they have done, the parasites, so to speak, have actually, they put stuff on top of it, like a prison, insane asylum, anything that will suppress the
truth.
Positive energy and the truth. Yes.
Yes. The one story in the biblical term I'm really interested in is Leviathan. And, that's been making circuit more, and they're talking about this, and that's a one I'm interested in. And of course, the media now, they're pushing it and painting it as a negative process again. But that's another one that I could tell you the story on the Leviathan, in the biblical term and stuff like that. That one I find interesting too. And what that means and what it's supposed to do. So what is the true story about it? What has been pulled out of the story and not told us what's really, where that, because it was created from Creator God, and, things are not here just for no reason. So I'm interested in that. That's one of the ones I want to remote is the Leviathan. That's pretty interesting story on that one too.
Well, tell us tell us more about it.
Well, I mean, if you go into Leviathan is like the one that's supposed to, what they have out there now is, it's supposed to cause havoc upon man at the end of the days and all this stuff, and that it awakens, just like, again, in the terms of the biblical sense, the giants will awaken too. So I just find that story interesting. So, and you've seen it on maps. They show pictures of islands that look like Leviathan. It's supposed to be, it's just huge, how big it is and everything like that. So it's an interesting story, but it goes to show you, what was here on Earth a long time ago and how big everything was.
Yeah, including us.
Right. But how big everything got shrunk down, and how did that happen? How did everything get suppressed to the size? I mean, and only that too. I mean, you're looking at humans, they're getting smaller and they're shrinking more and more. Where, I mean, being 7 foot was not a big deal anymore. And then, at the biblical times and all this stuff, it was common to see giants everywhere. And so things are changing, and we know how that happens.
Then look how long they used to live too. They lived a lot longer.
Right.
And our environment has a lot to do with that.
Yeah. So that, to me, is an interesting biblical story of the Leviathan in there, and that's been surfacing more now about that story. And so that's going to be an interesting process to bring up. I want to do a remote viewing on that one.
Well, good. When you do that, we'll have to have a show and see what you found out.
Yeah. So, so why are the dragon lines, the ley lines activated? So Earth's core is rising in the pitch, reactivating these lines. Creator is reclaiming the organic grids. These lines are the guardian. Humans with souls of fire are called to awaken. So we're in the awakening ages. We're in the awakening stages. Then the presence of the frequency. It is not about, geographically, it's about matching a frequency when your soul matches in the line that is open. And there's the difference between a soul that's suppressed and is contained and controlled, and then now I think there's so many people awake, and they want to learn, they want to reach to understanding things more, and they're in that learning mode and look outside the box, looking outside the plated glass, and they're going to see it for what it is. And that's the whole thing. And that's why I say, you've had everybody in the world thinking in a positive process at the same time. That would change the frequency of Earth at that very moment.
Yes.
And that's the power of thought brings in a lot, which is energy, which affects us. So when we go into the golden age process, that's abundance, that's light, that's, and that's going to change. The burden of debt, the burden of, and Trump had it on a quote the other day, because I talked about it months ago. The chains come off, the chains of your wrist, the enslavement, it comes off. Once the Jubilee is done, the golden age, it's all released. So what that does to the soul, it releases something inside you, the enslavement energy. It frees you up.
I wonder if it'll be anything like, how an animal, when they're in a fenced area and all of a sudden you take the fence down, it takes a while for them to actually realize that they're free. I think it's going to be the same way, even in a lot of ways.
People don't even realize they're not free now. I mean, that's the thing.
Close, no, yeah.
And like I said, this change needs to be implemented, shown the truth. And so they can sit in it with the true information with their soul and go through it themselves. Each soul has to make a choice of what they can adapt to. Each person is going to deal with this in different levels and different ways. But societies, and I think I saw something, that said 90% of humanity is not going to be dealing with this in a very good way, of all the information that's being laid out and all that stuff. And then you have these people that were just like, nope, we're not folding. We're going to hold the line. We're just going to wait till this all folds and we're good. We got it. We just want it to go.
Well, it seems too like once people start to get that curiosity or that motivation to want to find out more, once they get into it, they can't put it down. They keep looking and looking and looking and looking, because it gets to be really fascinating.
It does.
And, because I remember that happened to me years ago, but I still have that curiosity about certain things, because so much is being uncovered now.
Mm-hmm.
And
it is.
It's exciting. It's really
well,
cool.
I mean,
and the vibration is going up.
It is. And you can feel it every hour sometimes, and the Schumann resonance is just going off the hook. I mean, everybody's affected to this a different way. So it is. It's just it's changing. I mean, our Earth is changing in frequency. And these storms and everything that's happening, these earthquakes, is part of the process. How Earth changes when the frequency changes, and our conscience, the way we think, affects it. And then people are like, your mind doesn't have that much power, but it does. When you put things in a direction and you don't have doubt, there's a lot of power behind that. So it's interesting.
And when people actually all start vibrating or having a higher resonance or frequency as a collective, oh my God, we are extremely powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And once we get to that level again, we can move mountains, literally.
Yeah. So the battle of these lines is a shadow force tries to block and drain the ley lines using banks, more war, energy, feeding the negative on that energy was hijacked using human emotion for false timelines. Creators decree no more leeching. The veins and shall flow, the light shall burn, and the wound shall be restored.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole thing. There was so much loosh, the negative works off that dark energy. And, like we said, with child trafficking and everything else, it's that suffering they see as food. And now that once adrenochrome is completely annihilated from this earth, that loosh process will be gone in a different way that they worked off of. So yeah, I mean, it's the world's changing. I mean, 4 or 5 years ago, I just think, God, I don't know how we can get back to the innocence of children and knowing that they're safe and nothing's going to happen to them. And it just took a lot of a collective of people putting effort and saying that, we're not going to allow this to happen. That's what changes the village, is not allowing it and saying this can't happen anymore. And how long it's been going on.
And part of that is people have to be willing to be open-minded enough to be able to see the evidence that that's what's been going on, because a lot of people would say, oh, that's not true, or that's a conspiracy theory, or that's this, that, or the other thing. And in the meantime, more and more children go missing.
The thing is, I have a reply on that usually, and because I do have a lot of pictures and, reports and stuff like that. And even when you say, okay, you don't want to believe this, you don't believe this is part of it, so I'll show you this documentation. No, I don't want to see it. That's a program. They, it could be, don't want to admit they're wrong on that, but also it has to get you to dive in emotionally to admit that this is going on, and they don't want that. So even though I'm telling you, because this is on the screen, it's going to be seen in public eye, it doesn't mean they're going to accept it. And they think by turning their head, they don't have to be a part of that. They don't have to acknowledge it. But I'm going to tell you a general idea of what's going to happen with the public is they're going to be in denial. And they're like, don't bring it up. Don't talk about it. I don't want to see it. But there comes a point you can't run from it no more. It's going to be everywhere. And it's, like everything else in society, how the media works, you're going to have to face that you turn your back on these kids and denied that this was happening, even though it was in front of you. But your heart said, no, that's not important, or it's someone else's problem, and that's the thing. That's where we're at in society. It is denial in a different way. And we know the Democrats, that process is it's across the board on denial on everything now. Their party is a sinking ship that's burning into the damn fucking ocean. And they still think they're going to make it. You're not. No. That was the whole thing, and I'm going to say this about Trump, is to dismantle that party, because it is a demonic party, period, across the board. And now you're seeing it sinking. And as it is sinking, these people are still pushing their agenda because they're paid to push that to the very end.
Yeah.
It is their demise.
Yeah. There's a lot of not so good Republicans too.
Oh yeah, there isn't. They're not perfect.
The whole
but
government has been corrupted.
The whole process is changing. So you got to start with the most evil one, and then you can start picking through the other ones that shouldn't be in line of everything else too. So so what the public can do is be grounded, stand in earth, breathe, and that pulse that we get, we return to the light, the sound of the humming, avoid fear-based talk. These are divine souls, of these what they would call the dragon lines, of that energy and that frequency. So staying out of fear is the main key for everything right now.
There's a question up there, Jenny. You can answer. I have an answer for it, but you can answer it. Are dragons higher dimension and feed on energy?
I don't. It's not a. I don't. It's a hard subject to talk about, because here we go with the process on dragons. But even though dragons are in the biblical term, and there's information about them all, when you hear that word in modern time, they're like, whatever. And so, so I have to see things on that side to know what it is. And they showed me the emerald hallways, the emerald tablets, all that stuff is connected with, there's one for that Pacific area of that dragon energy on that line. So you're looking at why they suppressed it so bad. And what I got one time was one was under the Holy Land, that energy. And then so it showed me a white energy on that whole process of that too. So what you would say, the higher intelligent, again, higher intelligence, just like the giants were higher intelligence in this process.
Can you imagine the heart space on a giant?
Right.
If you think about when you know about how our heart space is, a giant's would be even greater.
Well, even the thing that all our world, and they got society thinking that there's no one else in the atmosphere, no one else in space except us. You know what I'm saying? That amazes me that there is no aliens. There is nothing. There's nothing out there except us. Come on. Seriously? You know, and so just like this whole process with the ship that's supposed to be passing Earth, and it's not. And like I tell people, you do the opposite. You go outside, you see it for yourself. You don't trust NASA. You just feel that for yourself. So that's the whole thing. It's just like, look for information. Look at this. If you can see it from outside, see it for yourself instead of them putting fear into the process. I think all it is frequency coming through our atmosphere. All it is. And, it's turning things on, activating things. This whole fear of what's coming from it and all that. So I just believe it's going to be a nothing burger. So it's like the cell phone thing. Put the phone in the microwave. Remember that? I was like, yeah. So I'm just saying it's going to be another one of those. And then they're going to move on to another subject. And then it's going to be all over again. So
Stephen says, not just you has to dig it. We all have to dig. And that's true because we can help each other.
Right.
By doing so.
Right.
That's pretty important, I think.
And how Trump says, basically when it comes down to all the evidence, that once they're going to be cornered into the city and everybody's going to want to leech onto them after they find out how much they've done and what they have suppressed and kept knowledge from us. So there we have these levels of conscience that we have to awaken to the information. And I'm not saying that, there's going to be levels of people wanting to see it and there's going to be levels of denial. It's just the way it's going to be for a while until the Democrats stop pouting. That's basically the way it is. They're just these spoiled kids that can't have it their way.
It's kind of like a 2-year-old throwing a temper tantrum.
Right, exactly.
So I have another visual to put up there briefly about Sedona that I, just for your information, that I had researched. It's not only a vortex, it's a vault. The stone faces, and there are faces in the rocks there. I've seen them. There's a woman, Thunderbeat. She does a whole book on them. She does a picture in there. You can see it. The stone faces here are not imagination, but guardians who sacrificed themselves for us. Their bodies became stone. Their essence was sealed so humanity and Gaia could continue. Now the seals are breaking. The titans and the dragons are stirring, and Sedona's vault is opening, and their sacrifice is remembered. And that isn't, Sedona isn't the only place.
No.
There's a lot of other places, and it's fascinating what's going on. It really is, because things are activating, things are happening, and I feel it.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And like, and if I'm able to go, like I've been to one here, and then going to South Dakota, and I want to go look at that ley line too. I'm just, to feel the activation on those, because they just feel different. I mean, if you're in the local area, and I mean, it's something I tell people, go to the ley lines, feel this frequency, the energy that's there. You can feel it through your body, and so, and it was really interesting because, I just, I was like, something's telling me, go to South Dakota, go back to South Dakota. And I'm like, why? And all of a sudden I keep hearing I kept seeing the same information about the ley lines, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll check it out if I'm there. But it's just our history. We need to want to get back and look at that stuff and figure out how all this happened. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
That's why I really feel I was called to Sedona when I went there,
mhm.
and I believe here as well. And I learned a lot while I was there, and I'm learning different things here too. And it's fascinating. It really is.
It
I
is,
got
and I mean, it's addicting. I mean, to
it
when
is.
I see something like that, I want to go explore. And first of all, as a remote viewer, you want to sense it and figure out if you can pick something up around that area.
Well,
Or
yeah, there's a
because I have
place.
never been disappointed when I'm at a site like that or anything like that. It's
Oh,
just
heavens,
something
no.
is
Yeah.
end up revealing the truth.
Right.
So it's very interesting. And I think Watertown, South Dakota is another one that has that frequency too.
Well, there's about an hour away from where I'm at right now, in Mount Ida and that area in Lake Washita, and they have crystal. It's the largest quartz crystal bed in the world, and
Yeah,
they're
I love
activating.
Yeah.
It's awesome. In the water in that lake is so clean. It's almost hard to believe.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's interesting.
and now someone said too, and I haven't had a chance to research this further. But not only are there the huge crystal beds, somebody said there are Atlantean domes down there too,
Where is
under
this?
the ground. Mostly in Mount Ida, but that whole area,
Uh-huh.
and it's Lake Washita. It's under the lake.
Oh, that would be
Interestingly enough, the lake was created by the Army Corps of Engineers.
Huh.
And
Interesting.
it's 40,000 acres.
Wow.
It's huge.
Yeah. Just like Minnesota, Duluth, in that area, there's massive water. And I'm like, there's got to be
Yeah, Minnesota's, it's noted for 10,000 lakes,
Yeah.
So there's a ton of water there too. There's a lot of water here too, and it rains a lot too, it seems. But anyway.
Yeah, so and that's the thing with this whole collapse. And I believe in this week, even tomorrow morning, that you're going to see a shift with the government making an aggressive move. And as Trump was always going to dismantle the Democrats' programs, and I think this week we're going to see it in a different way. It's just cut. He's just going to cut them at the knees and cut it off. And the way that I think that's happening, he's showing you this is never going to get anywhere. There's never a negotiation with them. And basically the flip that I see that's happening is like, okay, this government's not working. We're just going to flip into the new government with the new money. And we're already have implemented that. And I think that's what he's just showing you, because with any process of taking a corporation, if you got to dismantle a program, that's the way to do it. You slowly dismantle it and show what's going on. You do the investigation. You're like, we're starting over on this process. If it's not paying, it's not making money, and it's depleting the people. And so that's what they're just showing you right now. So I believe watching them come out with these new programs, and it's going to be replacing a lot of what's going on. So that's why I think with the Snap card and all that stuff has to do with the fact, if you want to cause chaos, okay?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And get
Chaos.
people fighting with each other over that crap too.
So, but that is to start where the military can come in and show that on these processes that they need to do this. So they can go into each city and dismantle everything that they need to. So on the flip side of this, I don't think people are going to suffer. I think it's going to flip really quick, and a new program is going to be implemented. So we'll see how fast they're going to have to feed that quick.
Yeah. Well, I just saw a lot of the comments that on some areas where they're talking about the SNAP program, and people were talking about all the people who cheat and get extra
Oh, yeah.
food money. Oh my God, how horrible of them. Not that I know there are people that will abuse programs. There's no doubt about that. But to make it seem like the vast majority of people are doing that is a bunch of crap. That's not true. There are a lot of people who work low income jobs, and they still can't afford food. And what, you're going to take them away from them? That's just not right.
See, that's the thing. There's been a big, everything's, when we were young, I mean, they were very strict on the guidelines for things, and you had to have a job, and you had to,
you still have to have a job.
I know, but it's a way of life now. They don't see it in that way anymore. They changed it. I mean, I think I saw a gal that she got $10,000 on her SNAP card, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Nobody, that was an illegal immigrant. That was not a regular, real American. That's what's happened. I don't know why they got so much money on their SNAP cards. And plus, I put one on, I posted it on Facebook. Somebody had $13,000 on their SNAP card, and they had another almost $5,000 of cash. I have never known any American ever, and I've worked in low income programs that had where's near that amount of money, and that was done on purpose to get these illegal people situated in here and ready to vote for the Democrats. That's really what that was all about, and to cause chaos, and it certainly has. But it's being handled.
Well, I'm going to give you a definition on that. What I think has happened, and I did this remote viewing, and it's a vessel that is feeding the body is being used to cloak of the New World Supply Code. Beneath the program is a recalibration of its own control, distributing. It's not just food, but not access to data, but life force and the decision. SNAP is a temporary cloaking, unrevealing the dependency of the matrix. It is not just about food. It is about power, compelling the illusion of the assistance. The collapse is a global monetary illusion. This rise, the quantum, is disturbing the system. The awaken the sovereignty being will start, no longer dependent on a run state process, aligned with the divine. So we have to go into our sovereignty, and this is the process of going into that. So
that makes sense.
So the whole thing about this is I got as a channel this stuff, appearing helpful, but encoding, the compliance and tracking, and it's a stagnated situation. It's an altar of you're never going to get ahead. That was the whole process of this. It's a false God process. It nourishes the government. It does not get you to a sovereignty of you being independent and showing you there's programs that you can use to be independent and get out of the process. They kept it in a codependency process.
Oh, definitely.
Never released out of it.
Definitely. The entire, not just the SNAP program, that's just part of it, but even the whole welfare program. Yeah. You cannot get out of it. It creates a dependency. And as soon as somebody starts to might get a job and start getting somewhere, they start taking stuff away. And they never get a chance to really get ahead of the game.
So not
any of us really get very far ahead of the game, for that matter. But I do feel that is all changing for the better.
Yeah. So that collapse in that form, in that way of control, needs to collapse, and they need the new process of sovereignty, of giving them a choice. Okay, that you can have this for a certain amount, but these are the choices you're going to have to make to be proactive and changing your life. But it's the same thing as anything else with security and all that stuff. They limit everything, so you never have an option to get out of the process.
Exactly.
That's what the whole enslavement of the matrix of these programs are. And so what I think is happening is they're going to dismantle this, and what you're going to see a flip into a new program with new names and new titles, but with independence and sovereignty. That's what I say that's happening.
Oh, somebody's asking me in the chat, where'd that question go? Asked me if Where'd it go? No, it won't. Oh, well, I'll have to find it again. Somebody asked about if it was in the right. Wait a minute. So you know something about bio. Did you know that chlorophyll was used directly transfusion? Yes, I did know that. I did know that. Yes. I'm not board certified anymore. I don't even practice as a nutritionist anymore. But yes, I was a registered dietitian, and I had a master's in nutrition, and I worked in it for years, and I left it. I saw what they did to people in hospitals, and I did not like it.
Mm-hmm.
I worked at the VA, and I saw them do chemotherapy and radiation and things like that, and I saw them kill. As far as I'm concerned, I saw them kill people. I couldn't handle it anymore. I left.
Yeah.
Our healthcare system is sick.
Okay. You want to take some more questions?
In fact, I think that chlorophyll, that was actually used during wartime to be able to save people when they didn't have the blood that they needed. So yeah, that's very true what you said.
Yeah.
And I did know that. Yes, and I didn't mention this. I got my old YouTube back. Yes. 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I had 9,200. I thought it was almost 9,800, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Subscribers and followers, and all of a sudden I wake up one morning and it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
They don't send you a file, nothing. And you're just like, and there's a whole bunch of shows on there that I barely remembered. Some of them, I didn't have the computer capacity to keep copies of everything.
Right.
And so I lost all those shows. And there's some very good people that I've interviewed on those shows. So I'm going to do a Volt series eventually and bring some of them back out. But I got to do some work on that. So anyway, that being said, we can move on. But that was exciting.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting. So yeah, I mean, like I said, this week with everything, I mean, I think this week's because the public needs to see what's changing. They have to see the new process of what's going to be for the good of humanity now, and with our government. And this is the thing that's coming up too. And I think the 51st state, which is Canada, which we all know the United States is a part of now. And I know that they're slowly hinting about it, but they're putting it out there more aggressively. People know that Canada's a part of it. And that's going to be a big announcement when that happens too. I mean, and I think Trump's right about the winning. Once we start on that track of winning and all that stuff, and that everybody's worried about the money and and I don't think it's going to be an issue in the future. And people have to look at their partner, who they're with. And this is, this because you see it across the board in the United States, is they're with a person because they're codependent on making money with them.
The financial aspect.
Yes.
There's always
soul. It's nothing to do with the soul. And that's
economic relationship.
Right. And they're not in there for the abundance of the soul and the connection. You're going to see a vast process separating and being done and being into the sovereignty. And everybody knows that. They know people that they're just there because of the finances. They support each other in that way, but they're not there of the heart. They're not there of the soul. And I think that's important. We have to get back to what the soul is really wanting, what it wants to be a part of, and, like I always say, the twin flame process is just vast. It's changing now. It's, I talk to people daily on this event, how they're recalibrating and they're seeing it and they're stepping in their sovereignty and they're stepping in doing this for the right reason. That's the whole thing we have to get back to, is like, it's not about the persona and what it looks like. You have to do things for true intentions now. And that's what they talked about, the quantum system. And the XRP and everything has to do with your true intentions. When you're in front of that system, it picks up every frequency that you're going through. That's why the negative cannot work off this frequency of this bank system. That's what's changing.
Somebody said, this is true. I put this up there because I looked at when I was in the store just a couple of days ago, I guess. She was talking about a blade steak roast was $52, two bones rib steak $72. I saw a prime rib for $85 at Walmart, and I'm going, oh my God. Guess I won't ever be eating that ever again, you know. But anyway, I guess in fifth dimension we don't eat meat anyway, but we'll see about that. That'll be a transition too. But groceries are out of this world expensive. They really are.
Yeah, they are. And then that's supposed to come down, and gas supposed to come down, and I think housing's heading for the crash.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
That's coming.
I've never had a house of my own, so to speak. Well, I've had apartments and so on, but I never owned a house, shall we say. I did have a condominium shortly, but
so anyway, I think this covers a good amount of information.
I forgot half the time. All right, let's see. I'm looking to see if we got any questions in here. Oh wow, it's almost an hour already.
Yeah, it already is.
Money is the root of all evil. I certainly agree with that. And, you know, other worlds don't even use money. And we're going to get to that point where we don't need money. The other thing about the SNAP program, if everything continues to go as planned, you won't need it.
Right.
But it is scary if you were dependent on it. And that's, you know, and I've used food stamps in the past between jobs and so on. Could certainly use some. Right. The price of food nowadays. But anyway, that being said, is there anything else you want to bring up?
No, I think right now, just, you know, this week, just look for new programs that are going to come in and look for the XRP that hits the top layer. And then I talked about, and then I think Jeep was trying to pull it up when I talked about the golden age with the blue star. And that's the whole thing with this ship coming in. They always showed an outline that it's blue, and a blue line around it and everything like. So it's going to be interesting to see how that actually plays out. You know, I want to see that prediction to see if it comes to permission on that whole ringing in the golden age process of this energy. So we'll see what happens.
This will be very interesting.
Yes, it will.
It's a very fascinating time to be alive. It really is.
It is. And I see good things, and I you know, and that's the thing. The future is bright, and it just feels uncomfortable, and people feel very uncomfortable to get past this level that we have to get past to. But someone's got to do it.
Everything's got to collapse. You can't take something that's totally corrupt and fix it. You got to get rid of it, start over.
Silver is insane. And I've been talking silver, gold, and XRP. Those are the only three I'm telling you to keep watching. It's going to change. Get rid of the damn Bitcoin.
Well, crypto in general. Yeah. I'll be happy when we go to the point where we don't need any kind of money. But that's going to be a ways to go, I'm afraid. All right. That being said, stay in the light.
Yep.
And stay positive.
They know everybody knows how to contact me if they got questions and for readings or classes or anything like that. So.
I wanted to address this real quick. Do you know anything about that? They say that the white dragon is locked underneath Jerusalem still today.
Yes. That's the one I was talking about.
That's okay.
That's the one that I did the prediction probably 3 years ago. And they not even use the word white dragon. They use the word precious, magnificent dragon. And you could have to go back in one of my YouTubes and you'll find it in there. But I think it's like 3 years ago. But yeah, but because everything was stored underneath there. You know, it was stored to contain, to control, and all that stuff. And that was the thing with they showed with the Emerald one, the Emerald Hallway. They showed that too. So it's going to be interesting that we get to witness when we actually see stuff in the skies that we've never thought we'd see. And I mean, and you can't think It looks something like 3D in that process. But what I'm saying is they've been hiding this stuff for a long time.
And we've been programmed since childbirth. So it takes, people have to get past that
It
and
does.
be willing to relearn.
Well, I mean, you're really, if you talk, you talk giants and dragons, people go, oh yeah,
Yeah, right,
and
right,
that's
right.
a hard thing, because that's a program on its own. It's like,
Yep.
that's not real. But I'm like, okay, then let's go through the biblical terms, the scrolls, the dialogue, all this stuff, and you're gonna have to read and do research on this. So it literally it takes a different mindset to look at it and then read it for yourself.
And as the vibration goes up, people will be able to discern with their own intuition
Yes.
a lot more so than maybe they are able to at this point in time. So anyway, that being said, thank you everyone for listening.
Hey, you got your bell because
oh yeah, that's right.
You gotta do the
Glad
bell
you
because
remember that. Yeah, I forget. I'm sorry. Yeah, I got it right here. So this is for the children. That's what started all of this. Are you looking for your bell, or you don't have one?
No, I don't have mine because I had to take it to a place today, so I'll have to pull it out of my bag.
The bell is for the children, so I did it long enough there. Because that's what started all this, and that's what this is all about. And they need a future. So,
okay.
Thank you.
Well, sounds good, guys. Take care. Stay in the light. XRP. Drop the damn Bitcoin. Stay in gold. Stay in silver.
And we'll see you again in not too long.
Hey, take care.
We have found our way. It's a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are, and like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on